We begin with a brief history of smoking and big tobacco. In the early 1900s, smoking is a niche market. Cigarette manufacturing techniques have been invented, but demand is relatively small. But by 1915, the sales are ramping up. Manufacturers use trading cards as collectibles and employ other strategies. One such strategy is targeting the military. Tobacco companies give cigarettes to troops and work with the military, urging the public to donate to cigarette funds for soldiers. The media backs the effort. The New York Times writes that cigarettes lighten the inevitable hardships of war, and another popular periodical describes cigarettes as the last and only solace of the wounded. Despite the push, not all states are for cigarettes. At one point or another, cigarettes are banned in many states, not for health reasons, but for moral reasons. In 1912, American Dr. Isaac Adler strongly suggests that lung cancer is related to smoking. In 1929, a German scientist publishes formal statistical evidence of the link between lung cancer and smoking. As concern about the health risks increases, cigarette companies design ad campaigns with doctors. The strategy is to confuse. How could something be bad if doctors say it is good? Ads state that cigarettes are good for you, good for digestion, weight loss, stress and tension relief. We begin with a niche market, with some states banning cigarette use. Health concerns are raised, but the industry pushes ahead, marketing with doctors. It's 1950, and big tobacco is booming, one of the most profitable industries in the world. The smoking rate is nearly 4,000 cigarettes per person per year. And then, the 1952 issue of Reader's Digest, the most popular magazine in America, publishes the article, "Cancer by the Carton." In reaction, the heads of the largest tobacco companies hold a secret meeting in New York's Empire State Building in December of 1953. They decide to sow doubt about the health findings of cigarettes. They pay to publish an article called "A Frank Statement to Cigarette Smokers" in 448 newspapers. It questions evidence that cigarettes cause cancer. They press on, marketing cigarettes as scientifically valid. They invest huge sums of money into research institutions in return for findings that cloud the cigarette health picture. They partner with candy companies to promote the concept of smoking to youth. But the facts are emerging, and in 1964, the Surgeon General announces that smoking causes lung cancer. Per capita use rates in the U.S. steadily decline after warnings, taxes, advertising bans, and public perception. But big tobacco companies keep up their strategies. In 1973, an R.J. Reynolds document reveals the long-seated emphasis on targeting teens with cigarette ads. Realistically, if our company is to survive and prosper, over the long term, we must get our share of the youth market. This is done through ads, comics, fruit-flavored cigarettes, and more. And because the youth brain can be more easily addicted to nicotine and kids make good, lifelong customers, they are invaluable targets. But of course, even as late as the 1980s, the industry denies the addictive nature of nicotine, although internal documents show strategies to increase nicotine concentrations as a means of retaining customers. Despite the death rate of lung cancer being a near-perfect correlation to smoking, and the Surgeon General stating that smoking causes cancer, there is very little success in suing the tobacco industry for 30 years. The first big win comes in 2000. So where is tobacco now? The US is back to smoking levels of earlier in the 20th century, but other parts of the world are on the rise. Cigarettes are the single most traded item on the planet, with trillions being sold each year. And despite being legal, black market cigarettes are a multi-billion-dollar business. For example, the majority of cigarettes sold in New York State are done so illegally. Smoking takes about 14 years off your life, causes 6 million deaths per year, the population of Atlanta each year, causes hundreds of billions in economic damage. Even after cigarette taxes, smoking is a big net loss for a country. The tobacco industry has sold 43 trillion cigarettes in the last 10 years, spends about $20 million per year in the US alone on lobbying, is about a $35 billion industry, equal to the profits of Coke, Microsoft, and McDonald's combined, and is more profitable today than ever. Meet the next tobacco industry, marijuana. Like tobacco, big marijuana is well organized and extremely well funded. And like tobacco, big marijuana is using all the same strategies. Tactic 1. Make smoking marijuana seem good for you. Smoking tobacco was linked to lung cancer in 1929, but it took 30 years and millions of deaths to prove that smoking caused lung cancer. Marijuana is positioned as medicinal, but studies show that it negatively affects the brain. It's been linked to IQ loss, increases mental illness, and according to every single scientific body, is addictive. And for young people whose brains are still developing, marijuana has an irreversible impact. Addiction rates go way up. 1 in 6 who start marijuana use before age 18 become addicted. And for daily smokers, the risk of addiction rises to 50%. School dropout rates increase, and the risk of schizophrenia increases by 600%. Today's marijuana is not the pot of the 1960s and 70s. It's typically 4 times stronger and can be more than 10 times stronger. 21st century pot products have a high content of the drug's active ingredient, THC. With marijuana infused and sprayed foods, a single gummy bear can get 4 people high. This dab, a high potent concentrate, is produced through techniques similar to those used for crack and meth and has the potential to be highly addictive. While the pro-pot lobby presses the claim that marijuana is harmless, 1 in 9 fatal car crashes involves marijuana use, and this statistic is rapidly rising. As part of the tactic, facts are continually obscured. In 2009, a pro-marijuana lobby webpage announced the Institute of Medicine report on medical marijuana celebrates 10-year anniversary. Terms like medical marijuana and celebrates make it sound like the report praises marijuana as medicine. The comprehensive 267-page study is called Marijuana and Medicine, not medical marijuana. It does discuss some therapeutic benefits of THC, but clearly rejects smoking and marijuana as beneficial. It states, smoked marijuana is unlikely to be a safe medication for any chronic medical condition, and smoked marijuana is clearly harmful, especially in people with chronic conditions. It's likely that, similar to opium, marijuana may have medical utility, but also like opium, we don't need to smoke it to gain medical benefit. The American Medical Association and every major medical group in the country has come to the same conclusion. Marijuana use is a public health problem, and the legalization of marijuana sales should be opposed. Tactic 2. Money gets things done. How much does it cost to get 20,679 physicians to praise cigarettes? How much does it cost to supply the armed forces with free cigarettes? Big Tobacco spent huge sums of money to manipulate the public, but clearly it worked, as use rose almost parabolically. Where does Big Marijuana spend its money? Many people think marijuana as medicine is a movement of the people, but the finances reveal otherwise. 3 extremely wealthy people have spent tens of millions of dollars to advance the legalization. But it's not just these 3. A former Microsoft executive is teaming up with a former Mexican president to create a national brand, the Starbucks of marijuana. A 29-year-old Californian has raised roughly $10 million from investors to establish the Anheuser-Busch of marijuana. And we know the tobacco industry is interested. As early as the 1970s, a confidential memo written by R.J. Reynolds Consultants stated the use of marijuana has important implications for the tobacco industry in terms of an alternative product line. We have the land to grow it, the machines to roll it and package it, and the distribution to market it. Today, some firms have registered trademarks which are taken directly from marijuana street jargon. Tactic 3, go after youth, lifelong customers. Tobacco used candy to entice children. Marijuana uses the gummy bear, soda, ice cream, cookies, chocolate, and lots of other common name brand candy and sweet knockoffs. Dosages vary wildly on everything. These are just a few of the tactics that we already see and expect more. The marijuana industry is projected to be a $10 billion industry in 4 years, is becoming a massive human experiment with potentially unfathomable consequence, and is only just beginning. Early on, the cigarette industry had the public believing that cigarettes were safe, if not healthy, but with massive public use, the science could not be hidden. Today, we realize that the harms of cigarettes far outweigh the benefits. With marijuana, industry forces are again at work positioning marijuana as safe, even healthy. The science again shows many harms. What will the outcome of massive public use be? Consider again some of the harms of tobacco and marijuana. Cigarettes damage the smoker's physical health. Marijuana, on the other hand, most often impacts the user's mental and cognitive health. If we move from niche smoking to the mass use predicted by the marijuana industry, what will the impact be? We are here. The marijuana industry and its lobby wants to build and grow a multi-billion-dollar legal market using all the marketing and sales strategies big tobacco used for a century. Let's break through the big business strategy and talk about reality. Now is the time to be informed and determine what we want for our nation, our communities, and our youth.